We are doing October 2025 paper 2-2, and this is question number 2. Okay, question number 2 is very simple. They're saying that there is an array with 20 values of type real. We are supposed to input 20 values, and we need to assign it to one index at a time, and then we need to end when the value is 99.9 or all 20 values have been inputted. So I'll directly go to the marking scheme for this. It's very simple. This question, we don't need to spend much time on it. So we set the index to 1, and we input the number, and we check, is the number equal to 99.9 because the question said so, or we check if 20 elements have been stored by checking the value of index. So is index equal to 21, or you can just write is index greater than 20. So it's the same thing. If either of these conditions are true, then we are going to go and we're going to end the flowchart. If that is not the case, then we're going to store the number at this index in the array. So let's say if the value we input is 90, so 90 goes at index 1. This would be index 1, this would be index 2, index 3, index 4. So the values are stored respectively in each index. Then maybe next value is 80, and the next value I input is 99.9. So we won't store 99.9, and instead the program will end here. And we keep on incrementing the index plus 1, and we keep on going back to get the next value until this condition becomes true. Okay, so we're just inputting one value at a time in the array. It's a very simple flowchart, not going to spend much time on it. Okay, then in the next question, they're saying that there's a text file called old file, and it contains ID, names, and email addresses. 3 information items are stored for each member, and then the member shows information for the first 2 members in the first 6 lines. Okay, so first 6 lines we have ID, we have name, email ID, then name, then email ID. Okay, member ID string is always 2 letters followed by 4 digits. Okay, so this is 2 letters and then 4 digits. And then they're saying the file design is changed, so for each user stored in a single line of file with the character / used as a separator between data items. Okay, it's just easier to read that way. Okay, so when we're storing data in the file, instead of storing AB 1 2 3 4 Freddy Jones like this, instead what we'll do is I'll store 1 2 3 4 and then I'll put this / here just as a separator, so it's easy to read and we know that this is the new data item. Okay, then the next part is, okay, so they've already given us the example here as well. The algorithm will produce a new file from the contents of old file. These are the lines of type string and are used to store 3 items. New string is temporary, and then old file exists and contains valid data. Okay, so they're saying that we're supposed to copy the data from these files. So now old file is the one from where we're reading the data. So old file will read the data and new file will write the data to. And then we have these 3 variables, line X, Y, and Z, that are used to store 3 items of data. So we just have to fill in the blanks. Okay, open the file in. So open the file, we have to make sure that we write the correct terminologies and the correct syntax. Old file dot txt in quotation marks in read mode like this, or you can just write open in read because just like we do it in pseudocode, and this would be new file dot txt in write mode. Okay, then since the old file is the one that we are reading, so we just have to write that. So read a line from the old file dot txt, and we write that here as well, and we write that here as well, and then we read a line and store it in. So there are 3 variables that are given to us. We have line X, then we have line Y, and then we have line Z. So we write that as it is. Then they're saying set the new string to. Okay, so what is new string? So they're saying we are used to store 3 items of data, and the new string is a temporary variable that contains the valid data. So in this case, the new string is going to actually store all of the data. Okay, so what will be the format of data? This is the format. We have the ID followed by a line, followed by the name, then a /, then an the email, right? So we have ID slash name slash email. We just have to write that here. So we have written 3 separate lines, line X, Y, and Z. So we just have to write it in the correct format. Okay, so I'll say join line X with a slash, then join this with line Y, again followed by a slash, and then again join it with line Z, and that is it. So we will have line X joining with slash followed by line Y, joined with a slash followed by line Z, and after line Z we don't have to write anything because at the end there is nothing. So you can see it in the example as well, .org, and it ends there. Then they're saying write the new string too. Okay, so the new string obviously goes into the new file because this is the new thing that we are writing. So new file .txt, and then they're saying repeat steps from blank to blank until. So we are going to repeat from step. Okay, so we have opened the file, so we don't need to open the file over and over again. So repeat from step 3 until. Okay, until when? Until we have read all the lines in the old file, and for that we use end of file of old file, just like we do it in pseudocode .txt, like this. That's the whole question. Okay, so the reason for this is very simple, because we'll choose this because it does not exist anywhere in the data. Okay, so you can see how the data is like. It contains the ID, it contains the name, and it contains the email address. So in this case, we can safely assume that the data would not be existing. So when we go and we write this, the answer would be that the slash does not appear in the data items. Okay, so it is not appearing in the name or the ID, so it's fine if we use it as a separator. Okay, then in the next part, there's a 3-mark question. They are saying that there are 2 new information pieces and both new items are encrypted. They can contain this slash now. Okay, so we cannot use this as a separator, because if we have a value like this, we have a b slash 1 2 3 4, then we have Freddy, and then we have slash here in part of the string. So now this would be separated, then this would be separated, then Fred die Jones. So this all becomes wrong. So this is not going to work. Now the question is asking that all the possible items are stored on a single line. It is possible to extract each item after the line is read. Assume this is not used. Explain the additional file changes. Okay, now what could be the new solution which would allow us to store all these items even when the slash is part of the data? Okay, when that is the case, so what we'll do is there is only one method that we can use here. The method would be that we will actually calculate the length of these data items now. Okay, we are adding 2 new data items. Yes, so what we'll do is we'll calculate the length of these data items and then we'll store them at the end and then we'll read it from there. Okay, what does it mean? So AB 1 2 3 4 Freddy Jones, then we have some email ID, let's say ABCD. So we'll read the number of characters 1 2 3 4 5, let's say this is 15. So we'll add 15 at the end, and these would be 2 digits. Then we'll do the same thing for EN or whatever the data item is. Okay, so we'll add the length at the end, and this would be kind of like a unique identifier in our case. Okay, this is the only possible solution because anything else could be used as a separator. So if you look at this example, star is a separator, p is a separator, slashes are separator, question mark is a separator, so you cannot really suggest anything else here. Okay, so what would be the answer? The answer would be that we will append the length of each data item at the end of the strings. Yeah, append the length of each data item at the end of the strings, and then when we get the last 2 digits, we can use them as separators. So this was not a well attempted question in the exam, and this is the reason the students were unable to figure out the question altogether. So whenever they ask you to give some sort of a mechanism that will allow you to add a separator, and then the separator should be something that cannot be repeated in the text, so you can always give the solution that the length of the item can be used as a separator. Okay, now
Sir, can you explain the last?
now in the next part, question 4, they're asking that there are 9 questions on a quiz, 5 easy questions worth 3 points, 4 hard questions worth 5 points. At the end of the quiz, the points for each correctly answered question are added to give a total score. A check is made to test that the total score is valid using a 1D array check total of type Boolean. Each index represents a total possible score. The representing value is true if the index represents a valid total score and false otherwise. Okay, what does it mean? Okay, so we have an array and there is a quiz that has 9 questions and then 5 easy questions which are worth 3 points. So we have the range from, so we have 5 easy questions and then they're ranging from 3 points. So that means from 0 to 14 points. Then there are 4 hard questions and they're worth 5 points each, which is 0 to 19 points, like this, right? So we get, and then a quiz has 9 questions. So when we have 9 questions, they have 5 easy. So 5 easy is
Sir, आपकी आवाज नहीं
okay. I'll explain again. So in this question, the statement says that there are 9 questions in the program and then there are 5 in the quiz. So 5 easy and 4 hard. That means when we have 5 easy questions worth 3 points, so that is total of 15 points, and then 4 hard questions each worth 20 points, that is total 20 marks. This becomes a total of 35 marks, right? Now the question is saying that there is an array which stores all the possible values in the indices, which means that there would be an array which will have values from 0 all the way till 35. Why 0? Because what if the student doesn't get any of them correct? So this means there would be a total of 36 values or indices in the array. Now what will happen is the minimum number of marks that a student can get could be 0. So 0 is a correct number. So it should store true. Then the next possibility would be that the student only gets one easy question correct, which means the student can get at least 3 marks. So then that means index 3 would also store the value true Boolean, okay, which means that this is the correct total that the student can get. But there is no way possible that a student can get 2 or 1 mark, because the lowest possible marks the student can score is 3 after 0. So in this case, 1 and 2 indices both will store the false value, okay, because these are not valid total marks. So just like I'll give you an example, an easier example. Let's say you get a question, so you get MCQ paper and then there are 40 marks in the paper, right? So in MCQs, the lowest marks you can get could be 0 and the max marks that you can get are, let's say, 40, but An invalid mark would be 0.5, right? An MCQ cannot be partially correct. It could either be fully correct or fully wrong. So keeping this logic in mind, we have to write the check total array and we have to set it to false. So again, like I said, there would be 36 indices because 0 is also the lowest possible mark. So we'll write declare check total as an array. It will have values from 0 till 35 and it would be of type Boolean as stated in the question. Then they are saying set all the elements to false. So for I 0 to 35 will go to, in fact, this is question number 4a. So I'll go into the collab file. Okay, so this is 4a. Okay, so we'll say check total index I will store the value false as the question says, and then this is next I, and we also always have to declare the value of the loop variable, which is I, and this should be set to integer. So this is the complete part 4a. Okay, now in 4b they are saying that we are supposed to complete the fill in the blanks. The pseudocode represents an algorithm to set the appropriate elements to type true. Okay, we have the easy and the hard questions. We are setting them to integer. So easy questions could go from blank to 15 blank and then 0 to blank step 15. Okay, again, now what could be the possible numbers for easy? So easy questions are worth 3 points, right? So they could be 0, 3, 6, 9, etc. And hard questions are worth 5 points, so they could be 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, etc. This is what we have to write. So total of 4 hard questions, so that max is 20, and then a total of 5 easy questions, then a max of 15. So keeping this in mind, we just have to fill in the blanks. So what will happen here now is easy questions were starting from 0, 15, and the step is 3 because there would be a difference of 3 marks. And then for hard questions from 0 to we go all the way till 20, and the step is going to be of 5 marks because each hard question is of 5 marks. And then we are going to store the value at the current check total. Okay, now what do we write here? This is supposed to be some index, but if we only write easy q here, what will happen is it will either be 0 or 3 or 5 or 7, 0, 3, 6 or 9, etc. If we write hard, then it would either be 0, 5, 10, 15, etc. So both of these are wrong. So what we have to do is we simply have to add all the possible combinations of these. So I'll say easy q plus hard q. Okay, now what does it mean? So it's a nested loop, right? So when the value of easy is 0 and the value of hard value of the hard q variables would be from 0 to 20, so it would be 0 to 0, 0 plus 5, 0 plus 10, 0 plus 15, 0 plus 20, like this for the first set of hard values. Then easy q becomes 1, it would become 3, so 0 plus 3 is 3, and then this would be for every hard question that would be 3 plus 0, then 3 plus 10, then 3 plus 20, 3 plus 15, 3 plus 20, etc. So this would get us the combination of all the possible values of easy and hard questions, and then we'll go at these indices and we'll keep on storing the values of true, just like they've done here. So if you don't understand it directly, so you can look at this pattern here. So they have stored 0, true on 0, then true on 3, then true on 5 as well. Why 5? Because what if the students only get one hard question correct? So that in that case, the student would get 5 marks and then they'll go to index 5. Then in 6 mark case, what could be true? So the student has gotten 2 easy marks, 2 questions of easy correct. So 3 plus 3 would be 6, so on and so forth. So this is the idea. So in this question, we'll pass in a total value and then we'll check if it is valid or not. So it could be, so our array would have this sort of the form here. So it would have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it would have 2 and false. So like we discussed, 3 is a valid score, so 3 would be true, and then 8, 7 is an invalid score, so 7 would be false. Now what would be the steps? So we'll say that first of all we have to check or validate that the parameter is in range of 0 to 35, just like we discussed initially. Okay, if out of range, then we will return false, just like the question said. Okay, if it is invalid, return false. If it is valid, return true. Okay, otherwise we are going to otherwise we will check otherwise we will pass the parameter value as the index to the check total array. Okay, and then we simply return the value from the array at that specific index. Again, which means if the parameter value is 2, we return false. If the parameter value is 7, we return false. If the parameter value is 0, we return true. If the parameter value is -50, we return false because the value is invalid. Okay, now question 6, and a bit tricky question. So question number 6. Okay, the question number 6 says that we have to write a function that is called compare. So it will compare two strings together. It will take 4 parameters, 2 strings, and then a character, position, to indicate whether string 1 will be compared with S or E. And then there would be a Boolean, case matters, and then it will return true or false. Okay, so first of all, we will go ahead and write the function header. It's called compare. Okay, it's called compare, so I'll write function compare. Okay, so in the compare function, we'll have two strings, string 1, string 2, and then we have position, character, case matters. Okay, so string 1, string 2, both are of type string. Then we have position. Yes, position is of type character, and then case matters is of type Boolean. And then this function is supposed to return a Boolean as well. So we'll write return Boolean, and then we end the function. So we'll get 1 mark for this alongside the declaration. As always, we'll declare the values at the end once we have used all the variables required. Okay, now the question says that a character position will indicate whether the string 1 will be compared from the start or the end, so using S or E. And a Boolean case matter will indicate whether an uppercase character and lowercase character are regarded as different. Okay, just like in programming languages, x is equal to lowercase x. But in real life, let's say if we are writing something on a copy, so in that case, we will say that CS and lowercase cs, they're still the same. So this is in real life, and this would be, they would not be the same when we're, let's say, talking about code or programming, right? So this is what it would define. Returns false if string 2 has fewer characters than string 1, and returns true if the comparison is true, otherwise returns false. Okay, let's do the easiest part first. Return true if string 2 has fewer characters than string 1. That means we have to find the length. So len1, length of string 1, len2, length of string 2, and then we'll check if length 2 is less than length 1, then we are going to return false, and we enter. Simplest check. If string 2 has fewer characters than string 1, yeah, this is it. Now for the remaining part, let's look at the example. So cat and case matters is true, which means they must be in the same case. Okay, what will happen when the case matters is equal to true? So when case matters equal to true means both strings must be in so if the case matters is false, that means both strings must be in the same case, otherwise the comparison would be wrong. So let's say if the case matters is equal to true, so in that case cat would not be equal to lowercase cat. But when case matters is equal to false, so in that case dog would be equal to lowercase dot, right? So whenever the case matters would be equal to false, we will actually convert our string to lower or uppercase. So convert both to upper or lower. So we'll decide one and we'll convert both of them to the same thing. And here S means from the start. So we get, so now we have to calculate the length of string 1, which is 3, and we go from the start and we get 3 characters out, which means we have to use the left function here. So whenever they'll say start, so that means you have to use the left function. So I'm just writing the notes at this point. And when they say E, okay, so let's say we are talking about cat. So string 1 has 3 characters and we have to look for CAT at the end. So we'll go and pick the last 3 characters from string 2. GUE. So this would be, so for in this case, E would mean from the right side. And this would again return false because they're not matching.
Sir,
Okay, so we use the left function. In this case, we use the right function. Okay, and let's look at another example here. So here they're saying start from the left side. So here CAT is uppercase, here CAT is lowercase, and they're saying case matters is true, which means they will not be the same. But when case matters is false, just like in this case, so CAT is uppercase, here CAT is not uppercase, but case does not matter. So before we actually compare them, we'll convert them into the same case just to make sure that they both are equal. That is pretty much the whole question. So now we'll go ahead and we'll write the program. Okay, we had written the first check. Now for the subsequent checks, we have to first check if the case matters was set to true or false. That would make our life easy.
Sir, nothing about CS is ever easy.
So if length 2 is less than S1, we have done that. Okay, now when they have said that the case does not matter, okay, that is very important. So when case does not matter, we will convert them both to upper or lowercase. Okay, it's up to you. So we'll check if the case matters is equal to false, then what we're going to do is we're going to convert both the strings. So string 1, we don't need to make another variable, is equal to lower. We are just converting to lower. How do I know which this function we have to use? It's given in the insert document, to lower and to upper. Okay, so you must use the insert document functions. So to lower, convert this string 1.
Sir, if case.
Okay, so then string 2 will also convert this into lowercase and will store it within string 2. Okay, if that is the case, then that is not the case, then we simply end if. Okay, because we'll still stick to the original strings. Okay, now we're talking about the position. Now, when the position is S, we have to get the string from the left, and when it is E, we have to get from the right. Okay, how many characters? That would be the length of string 1 characters. So let's say it has 3 characters here, so we'll extract the 3 characters from the start, right? Similarly, it has 3 characters here, and then they're saying check it from the end, so we'll go to the end of string 2 and get 3 characters at the end.
Excuse me, sir.
Okay, so we then check for the position. So I was talking, yes. So the number of characters we have in string 1, that is the number of characters, that many characters we get from the string 2. And that is what we'll do. So we'll check, we'll do if position is equal to start, then. Okay, if position is equal to start, then we are going to extract that many characters from the left side. So we'll say string 2 is equal to, okay, so if the position is start from the string 2, then we'll go to string 2 and we'll extract the number of characters as many in string 1, which is the length 1 basically. So we'll say right, this would be left of string 2. From this string extract len1. What is len1? This is the length of the string 1. So length 1 is 3, so we'll go ahead and extract 3 characters from the start. Similarly, the length is 3, so we'll extract 3 characters from the end depending on the context. Okay, else if position is equal to E, then. So if that is, then we'll say string 2 is equal to, so we'll go to the right of string 2 and we'll extract length 1 number of times. The only difference is of this left and of this right. And then you simply end up. Okay, once this is done, the only thing left is now to check. So they have said that if the comparison is actually the same, then return true, otherwise return false. So we'll do that. We'll simply check if string 1 is still equal to string 2 at this point, then we will return true. Otherwise, we are going to return false like this. And that's it. This is the complete question. So now there's, okay, so this question is complete. Question number 6. Moving on to 7. They are saying what is meant by the curved arrow symbol in the structure chart. Okay. If I show you the marking scheme, so they are saying that reference to repetition and then naming all the 4 modules. So this is a very common exam mistake. What students do in the exam is they just write that repetition is happening as convert is called multiple times. This is wrong. Okay. So the exact way of answering this question is that the parent module will repeatedly call the child 1, then child 2, then child 3, etc. in this order. So in our context, the answer would be convert module is repeatedly calling analyze, then update and sort in this order. And this will earn you full 2 marks. It looks very simple, but it is actually a tricky question because students do not adhere to the marking scheme when answering this. So please make sure that you do this. Okay, then they're saying you have to write the pseudocode for these analyze, update, and sort. Okay, so let's write the header for analyze. So analyze is getting one parameter, which is count, and the question has told us that count is the number of elements in the array, which obviously means that this would be an integer. So, and it is not returning any value back to the convert. So this is not going to be a function, it will be a procedure. Procedure analyze, and we write count is being sent as an integer like this, as a parameter. Okay, when we talk about update is getting a parameter here, and it is also giving a return value back, which is t1. And what is t1? T1 is a value representing the number of elements in the array. Okay, so this is again an integer, so it will be a function now because it's returning a value. So function update key would be a string, and then it will return an integer because t1 is an integer. And then p2 again. So what is p2? So whenever we get a double-sided arrow, that is the byref, which means we are updating the variables. We are updating the variable throughout the program by passing in the address. And then since it has a filled tail, that means it is going to be a Boolean value. So we just tried that. Okay, it's not returning any value. It's a byref parameter. So this would be procedure again, which is using the sort method. So byref, the name of the parameter was p2 as Boolean, and this is complete. 4 marks. Okay, now question 8 of October November 25, paper 2-2. So this is a bit tricky question as it has a lot of details, so we get to it. Okay, the program is being developed to manage student books from a college library. The programmer has defined a record type to define each loan. So these are the 3 items. We have the ID, we have the book ID, we have the loan. Then we have string Boolean. So it's the unique ID of a student, unique ID of the book, and then it is true if the book has not been returned. Okay, so on loan will be true. If the book is not returned, that means the student has borrowed it. There is a global array called loan which uses 7,000 records. There are more elements in the array than books in the library. Unused elements have student ID set to an empty string. They may occur anywhere in the array. Okay, before we actually start this, what is the program asking and what is going on? So first we will visualize. So loans is an array with 7,000 values. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then all the way to 7,000. Okay, so now what is happening here is they're saying that we are going to have on each array index, we'll have three things. We'll have student ID, maybe that is, so these are string values. So maybe student CS1. Okay, then there's this, then we have the book ID. Book ID could be, okay, let's call it SD1, and then maybe CS1 or Python 1. Python is the name of the book. And then we have the on loan. So it means true. That means that book is still on loan. This would be at index 1. Then maybe at index 2, we have the student number 2. And then they have the book of C++. And then on loan is false. It means that this book is not currently on loan. It means it's available in the library. And then we'll have all of this going for 7,000 values. Now, if I'll write loans index 1, so index 1 actually has three values. It has the string ID, it has the student ID, it has the book ID, and then it has the return on loan, right? So you cannot access all the values at once. So what we need to do in brackets array type is we write the name of the array, the index, then we write dot, and then we'll write student ID. And then we do the same thing for the other two. So loans 1 dot book ID, then loans index 1 dot on loan. And this is how we can access all the three values. Now, if this is understood, so the unused values would be set to an empty string. So let's say index 3 is unused, and they've said that they could be in any order. It's not necessary that they would be next to each other. So the student ID is empty here, the student ID is empty here, then maybe this has some values, maybe student ID 5, etc. Okay, so the question says, first of all, you have to write the model count loans. So what will count loans do? Count loans is going to call with the parameter of type string representing an ID, counts the number of books currently on loan to the specified student, counts the number of books that the student has already returned, and then outputs both counts with suitable messages. Okay, so maybe we have student number 2. So we again have student number 2. This time they got maybe Canva book, and then it's still on loan. Then maybe again this is the same student number 2. So they got another book, maybe this time on YouTube, and this is not returned yet. So on loan, true means it has not been returned. So false means it has been returned. So if I ask you how many books student number 2 has borrowed right now, so you will tell me that it would be one book, Canva book, that they've not returned. Otherwise, they have returned the other 2 books. So this is what the question says. Based on a student ID, you have to go through the whole array by looking at all the student IDs available to you in the 7,000 indices, and then you are going to count all the number of books that the student has borrowed or is currently going to borrow. And then you have to output the counts together. Now, if the visualization part is all clear, we can start writing the code. So first of all, we have to write the procedure, and the procedure is called so procedure, we have count loans, and then we have the student ID, let's call it SID, and then this would be the string, and then we have to do end procedure. Okay, so we'll leave the space for declaration here. Then we move on. Okay, then the question says counts the number of books on loan to a specific student. So this means we have to see the whole array because we do not know how many books the student has taken. So for I 1 to 7,000, now you are going to get the student ID out, and then you're going to get the loan status. So let's get the current student ID like this, and then we need to get the current loan status. Okay, how do we get this? So as I discussed above, we need to get each index of the loans array. So if I is 1, we are talking about this specific set of values, but we cannot directly access the student ID. So I have to write dot student ID. Then similarly, if I need to access the loan status of this, and I have to write on loan like this. This provides me the details of this specific record. Now, against this record, I have to check if this is matching with the current student ID I'm looking for. So we'll say if the student ID that we got in the parameter if it is actually matching the value that we're looking for, if it is actually equal to the current student ID, then if that is the case, then you have to check secondly. So they said that you have to count the number of books that the student has already returned. So for any book that the student already has returned, the value will be false. And if he has not returned, the value will be true, right? So I'll write it here as well. So on loan is equal to true if book is not returned. So then we check if the current loan is equal to false, then, or you can just check if it is equal to true. That means that the book has not been returned. So true then, so you can say, now they're saying you have to maintain a count of both of them. Number of books that student has already returned and the one that are in loan right now. So this book has not been returned, so not, or you can just say, okay, let's call it borrowed. Borrowed is equal to borrowed count plus 1. Else if that is not the case, if the current loan is false, that means that the book was returned. So you'll say returned is equal to returned plus 1. And then we do endif like this. And then we do endif as well. And then we do next I. So this will keep on going for 7,000 times, and it will look through, or let's say for student number 2, throughout the array with 7,000 values, and we'll count all the books that they've returned and they have not returned. And then we'll output it. Let's say student number, whatever the student ID is, SID, has returned number of books. Return is the name of the variable books, and then we'll just copy paste this, and has not returned, or has borrowed, or not returned is fine, has borrowed this many count of books. So if the returned is 20, this will simply just have 20 here, 20 or 30, and this could be, let's say, 12. So it will print the values accordingly. So this is the first part. Now we have to do the declaration as well. So it's extremely important. So we always have to declare the for loop variables as well. So we have to write declare I as an integer. Then current SID was a string. Current SID was a string. Then declare current loan was a boolean. Then SID is already a, okay, this should be outside. Oh no, that's fine. Just so. And then borrowed and returned. So they are both integers. So we have borrowed and we have returned. Okay. And then it says, yeah, that's pretty much it. So this was the whole procedure for question 8, part A. Okay, then in the next part, they are saying in part B, as a reminder, the global array loan stores 7,000 records with data items for each loan record. Okay. So we have already seen this. Now they're saying there's a new module called new loan, which will call with the parameter of type string representing an ID and a book, searches the array for an unused loan record, update the loan record, and returns true. Okay. So let's say I'm looking for the student number 2 who has got the book YouTube. Okay. So they have the book on YouTube. So what I need to do, I need to find them. Okay. This is false. So what the question says, you have to update the loan record and returns true. So for an unused loan record, okay, unused loan record means that the book is currently on not loan, which means that the value of on loan would be false. Okay, it is true, which means that the book is already not available, and if it is false, then if it is true, then that means it's not available. If it is false, then that means it is available. So that is what we have to do. Now,
Sir, unused.
yes, you're right. So it should be the one that is unused. So the one with an empty string, just like we made here. So this is the unused record here. So we have to find it, and then we have to update the loan record and return true, otherwise return false. Okay. So let's do that. We have to go through the whole array and we have to find for a student ID that is blank, and then we'll assign the specific student ID there. Okay. So let's say we found space here. We're going to add the new loan here. Let's say student number 52 took a loan. So we'll add 52 here, and then we'll add their details here as well, and then we'll return true. Okay. So in part B, this is now a function, I believe. Yes, we have to return. So function count, this should be new loan. And then they're saying, so there's supposed to be a student ID and a book ID. So again, SID and BID. You can use better names. It's up to you. Returns Boolean and then end function. Okay. And then it says that we have to, so leaving space for declaration. Then we have to go through the whole array until we end up finding the empty space. Yes, so we have to look for an unused element and we have to stop as soon as we find the unused element. So if we find an unused element at index 3, we do not need to look at the remaining 7,000 values. Okay, so that is what we'll do. So we have to use a repeat until or a while loop. So repeat, or let's use while here. So while the index, or let's call it IDX, is less than 7001 or less than equal to 7,000. And so there are two conditions here. So the two conditions would be, in fact, let's use repeat until. So repeat until index is greater than 7,000 or found is equal to false or not found. So you can use the Boolean variant or you can just say found is equal to false. So we set found is equal to false initially. In fact, this should be or found, which is found is equal to true. This should be arrow and index should be set to 1 initially. Okay, so let's get the current value out. So current would be the name of the array is loan, going to the current index, and from here we can get the current student ID. So let's call it current SID, which is going to be dot student ID, then current BID, which is going to be loan current index number dot book ID. Again, what are we doing here? We are just accessing the values one by one like this. And then we are going to, okay, before we do this, we're going to check. So, right, we have gotten this, it's fine. So we get this, then we check if the current SID is equal to empty like this. Then if that is the case, then what we're going to do is at this specific index, we're going to store this new student ID. Okay, again, so if we found something empty here, now we're going to store the student ID here, and this would be served as a, this would serve as a new loan entry. So this would be consumed by the new ID. So if the current ID is empty, so I'll say at the current loan index dot student ID, make it equal to SID. This is the student ID that we pass. Let's say this is SD52. Then once this is done, we are also going to store the relevant book ID at this place. So BID, and then since the book has already been loaned now, so on loan will be set to true for an unused loan record. So we add this. So it has not been turned because it's already on loan. And then we set found to true, which would allow us to end the loop. And we can get rid of these lines, and then we simply end if, and then we go to the next row every time. So I'll say index is equal to index plus 1, next row or next value. And once this loop ends, we will check the value and we simply return the value of found. So let's say if we do not end up finding the space in the array, this condition would never become true, found would never be set to true, and then initially since it was false, it would return false as well. So with this, we are done with the whole code. And since there's an easier way of doing this as well, since this is a function, functions can return a value, they can terminate the function, they terminate the whole program. So what we can do here is we can simply use an for loop here as well. So this is just an alternative. if I'll just copy this and bring it here. Since it's a function, we do not need to use this repeat statement and all that. I'll simply use a for loop for I1 to 7000. I'll check if the loan current index dot student ID is equal to blank. Then I'm simply going to make loan current student ID dot student ID is equal to the SID. This will get SID. Then loan current index dot book ID would become BID, and then loan current index dot on loan would become equal to true, and then I'll instantly return true. And we do end if, and here we return, and here we do next I, and here we return false. What does this do? As soon as you end up finding an empty space, you put the values there and you return true. Once you return true, the whole function ends. So this mechanism of repeat and until is only needed when we have a procedure and we cannot use the return keyword. Whenever we have a function, return keyword is very convenient to use to instantly just end the program. So this is the whole part B. Last thing for this question is, when a book is returned, the loan will have its on loan data set to false. A new procedure will mark these records as unused by first, after saving them for the future reference, explain how these records can be saved for future reference. Okay, whenever there is such a question, you always just mention that you can write the data to the text file. Okay, so we will write data to a text file, and since there would be multiple items of data, so we can create or concatenate all the record items in a single line and add a separator. So what does this mean? So let's say we have book ID. So let's say book ID is CS50, and then I can put some sort of a comma here. I can put a dash here. Then maybe I have the student ID was maybe ABC, and then we have the on which is true. So with every dash, I know this is a separator, which means this is one item of data. So this is what we can do. And then it is decided that we can extend the program for a reminder to send an email 3 days before the book is due, outline the changes that will be made, and how the data will be used to generate the reminder email. Okay, so to do this, we have to basically remember when the loan was given, right? So we have to store, or we have to track the start and start date of loan and the number of days it will be loaned, or the time period for which it would be loaned, right? So you need to keep that data in mind. And then the use would be that based on the calculation, an email can be sent to the student before the deadline. That's it. So with this, October 25 paper 2 is done.